And they're the main bunch going past the castle of the Mendozas. So built between 1435 and 1480. And you have a good look down inside there. And it's got some nice Mujadar features, those honeycomb cornices. You can spot them from here, can't you? Yes, of course you can, all you architectural experts out there. But my father wanted me to be an architect, so what do I do get in the bike business? I don't know. He kept saying to me, why don't you stop riding your bike and I'll buy you a motor car? I said, no, I enjoy riding my bike, Father. And the fact that I didn't go into architecture when he was advertising at the time, I don't think it pleased him either. But anyway, that's a long time in the past. But I love these beautiful castles and the sights as the race goes through. They call them the Tour of Spain, the Tour de France. It isn't touring, of course. They're racing flat out, these chaps. But nevertheless, we do get a chance to see some sights of the countryside that they go through that you wouldn't normally see. I mean, if you were driving your car along, you wouldn't get that lovely shot we just had out of the helicopter of the castle there. And so, probably bear with me whilst we have some of the flatter parts of the course where nothing much is happening. We should see some reasonable scenery. And if you saw the start of our program, certainly when we get down into Segovia, I think I called it Sevilla before, by mistake, I'm sorry about that. Segovia, I hyphenated Segovia and Avila, I think, but Avila. So Segovia, where we're going to finish. I hope we have another look at the beautiful cathedrals there, and particularly that Roman aqueduct, which is quite a unique piece of work, because they had to sort of flow the water down off the river, the Rio Frio, at a steady rate, and they had to I mean, you can imagine those years gone by to take water through and over an aqueduct like that, just making sure the whole thing was just gradually descending down through to where they wanted the water to go as from the source of the water. It was quite an amazing piece of engineering. But that's what we've already seen. And now, on your screen, we see Jalabert in the red jersey, and the Once team, in fact, all packed together here, so no doubt they've been able to get themselves sorted. Alex Zülle in the centre, the only man who survived yesterday's debacle. That's a good English word, isn't it? So let me give you a rundown whilst watching the Once team here as to where they are on the overall classification, and indeed what happened to them yesterday. First of all, in the finish yesterday, as the Once team now are getting themselves back together again, they really took an awful pasting way back. Jalabert, after Zülle came across the line with that main group, he's the only one who survived. By the way, Zülle was saying that one night, a couple of nights ago, he didn't eat at the hotel they were staying at. He went out and ate somewhere else, where all the team stayed in the hotel. And so he's saying that it could be something they ate when he wasn't there. Conversely, they also had some rice pudding as well, and they reckon because that was rice pudding with milk. Now, rice pudding with milk, if the milk is in very hot temperatures we've had here, allowed to congeal and go off a bit, then it can in fact, I'm not Mr. Ambrosio Rice, who sponsors my good friend Russell Williams, I'm not saying rice pudding's bad for you, but if you keep certain things out of the fridge, for instance, and they curdle and go off, then you've got problems. So they were blaming the rice pudding. Goodness knows who made it, homemade or whatever it was, but half the team said it was rice pudding. Somebody said it must be something else because Zülle wasn't there. Anyway, that's why he survived yesterday and kept the yellow jersey. I mean, what a stroke of good fortune that he hadn't had whatever food they had that upset them. There's been mutterings, of course, in the press, as you'd expect. We've got the Once team on the front here. Remember some years ago when the leaders now, the breakaway group here, when in 1991 on the Rennes camper stage of the Tour de France, the decimation of the PDM team, including my good friends Martin Early and Sean Kelly and the rest of them, they had again, they had a special intravenous drip to restore some of their food content, and whatever they had, whatever the person gave them, the doctor, was off. It hadn't been kept in the fridge, and of course the whole team was sick, and that put them way out of contention. So here our breakaway group, you see them on the screen at the moment, trying to punch a hole between themselves and the Once-led team behind, who've now reformed and got themselves back in action after what has been, I suppose, one of the most disastrous days that they've had, although probably not as bad as last year. We're now watching Tiboldi trying to close the gap down on his own. His sister's now been jumping up and down back in England, saying, come on, Valero, or whatever is the Italian for Ale, or come on. So the last year, you may remember, in the Tour of Spain, we had 3 teams stayed in the same hotel, plus some of the journalists and officials and what have you, and they all went down with tummy trouble, and that was put down to some spaghetti bolognese. And in fact, we were discussing before we came on air today, watching Tibaldi in full flight here, that why the big teams, like Oncé, I mean, when you see them arrive, they've got a great big team bus. Here they are now, a great big team bus in which they could all travel in comfort, air-conditioned, watch television, they could have a bed at the back, they can lie down and have a massage. They have another 2 team buses absolutely full of equipment. They've got so many bikes, this team, and it's one of the most, affluent teams, but it's a well-supported team in everything. And why don't they have a cook who travels with them that goes into the kitchen of the hotel and cooks their food? Now, the chefs at the hotel might not like that. So I was saying to Rolf Goltz, the German commentator, who, as many of you know, has been quite a successful rider, in the 80s, mid-80s as such, he was discussing the same thing, that you had to have the hotel food. He said you don't eat till 8 o'clock at night in Spain. You finish your stage, you get back to the hotel maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. You're trying to eat anything you can do, what's left in your pocket. You're hungry, and you could do then with a nice paella or a nice spaghetti or something to fill you up, and then you have a proper meal later on. The later you eat, of course, the less you sleep, if you don't go to bed till 10:30 then with a full stomach or something. And he said, why don't they have the chefs with the teams go into the kitchens and take their own food if necessary, and make the arrangements with the hotels? Now, that sounds a good idea, but some of the hotels might object to it. Now, in fact, some hotels, I've been trying to catch up with riders sometimes, and riders have booked themselves for food in a different restaurant somewhere else, because you get small hotels, they can't always provide the riders what they want, and they have to book at restaurants. Now, in England, I know, still rabbiting on while we got this breakaway group going, Jimenez on the front, is Serrano and Konichet, but over the years, I remember at Halfords, we used to get a company, had a great big double-decker bus that would come along and would do the cooking in the double-decker bus, and we could either eat in the bus itself, or they had to put a big canopy out, a big tent, and it was excellent food. They could put up some very good stuff. And in fact, on the big tours, behind our commentary points that we have on these big tours, because the people that travel with the race, erecting the start and finish equipment and so on, and get very little sleep, very little opportunity to go out and get a meal, there's a whole cooking entourage comes with it as well. And there are vans that are devoted to nothing else but cooking food for the people working on the race. Now, I can't see why on earth, as these three are chatting away to themselves about what progress they're making, why on earth a big team like Oncé couldn't say, right, we'll go and hire. I mean, you don't have to buy the bus yourself, but they've got enough money, I suppose, to actually get one. You could actually hire, I know certainly in England you can hire, they're mainly double-decker buses, but I'm sure there's some single-decker buses too. In fact, on-site catering for television crews, film crews and so on is a very standard practice. I'm sure you could hire a nice bus, and it could drive out there, and every night park in the hotel car park, and you've got a cook there who cooks the food. He may only cook for the 8 riders that you've got, or 9 riders, plus a team official to keep an eye on to make sure they don't do anything stupid like throw bread rolls or something, I don't know. But why not say, like, we're going to cater for 10 people in the team, the rest of the team management can go and eat in the hotel if they want, but I'm sure it must be possible. I'm sure one team is going to do it one day, particularly down here in Spain. We're on the climb of the first category, Puerta de Navacerrada, and this breakaway group at the front of affairs have never got up to 2 minutes lead on the main group. Is going to break up now. Serrano going away here. Serrano, the Kelme rider, who started the whole thing with Konichet, who's just struggling to get back up there again because they're trying to pull back Jimenez, who's also split the field. So these three falling out amongst themselves now, and the group beginning to try and pull them back. It looks like Jimenez certainly has got the power in his leg to leave these two wallowing in their wakes. And further back down, the Oncé team have been dropping riders while we went to a commercial break. We saw Malcolm Mauri, a previous winner of the Tour of Spain. He dropped off the back of the chasing group now, and he also started 9th day before yesterday, and dropped down to 30th overall from the tummy bug. So Oncé riding magnificently in support of Zülle up until now, begin to fall away. And there, Konichet has gone. There is Serrano, and down the road is Jimenez. So he's headbound for himself, and when they get to the top of this climb, it'll be about 25 kilometres down to finish. So maybe we might get a Spanish pick. You see the cars coming through now. That shows that the gap is coming down. And the officials here in the red Fiat looking back to see where the main group has got to, because they could be reeling in 3 escapers who have been trying to get a reasonable gap between themselves and the rest of the group. And I told you earlier on there'll be some nice pine forest for us to go through, and here we are now. Breathe in deeply, and you can smell. Actually, it's better when the rain comes on the pines. And you know, have you ever gone running through a pine forest? I have, before I jiggered my ankle like I did a few weeks ago. But go running through a pine forest, particularly after it's been raining. A lovely smell, and it's so very quiet too in the forest. Excellent. I suppose you might say the same thing. Mountain biking, but of course you get the whir of the gears, the crash and the banging. But pine forest, glorious. Oh, Serrano here. Hey, Escartin, my mistake. Where's he got to? Oh, he's coming up very quickly indeed now to try and join them. It's all changing as fast as it can do now. So Serrano had his little burst now. Escartin, who also benefited by that catastrophe yesterday. The Once team is now 11th overall, but he's 15 minutes 20 seconds back, because he was another of those riders who got marooned on day 3 when the Once team split the whole field. So I suppose you might say poetic justice that they got a bit of a thrashing yesterday, but nevertheless it was a problem of their health, not a problem of their sheer ability. Oh, you're riding yourself out of your skull, and you've got your team manager leading out the car, being driven in comfort by a thumping great 4- or 6-cylinder engine, and he's yelling like crazy for you to get a bit more effort into your legs and go a bit faster. Oh dear. A bit like slave labour, isn't it? They don't sort of lean out with a whip and start cracking it. So jumping up and down here with Jimenez, who was in that early breakaway, and Escartin doing what he can. Came over to the Kelme team from the Maffei squad, and now he's going to reel in Konishave. And here we're back with the main group. Such as it is, it's very much whittled down now. At one time about 80 riders in it, of the 119 or so we got left in the race. Let's pick out some of the colours. The MG Technogym colours here, with the bluish jerseys with that sort of yellowy stripes on. They're looking after the interests of Roberto Pistore, who is lying 3rd overall at the moment. He's got number 108 on his back if you spot him. In fact, it isn't too fierce at the moment. You can see there's still a lot of riders in here getting up this climb satisfactorily right now. That 113 you can see on the screen, that's Axel Merckx, a big tall fellow with a blondish sort of hair. Actually, he's going over to Pulte next year, because the Motorola team is folding, so he's with the Pulte squad next year. Jalabert sliding back. Now, is this just that he's worked hard and wants a rest? But here, Jalabert in the red jersey is sliding towards the back of this pack, and Escartin's trying to catch up with Jimenez, who's leading at the moment. What a shot. The pain and the suffering of climbing up a mountain clearly showing on the face of Escartin, who's trying to chase down Jimenez here, the Banesto rider. And Banesto looking for some success. They'd like to get a Spanish victory stage today, and the team manager is doing everything bar bribing and corrupting and doing everything he can to his team, to his rider here. I suppose he's threatening with a fate worse than death if he doesn't get the stage, but he's pedalling away quite confident at the moment, Jimenez, on this climb. And can he stay out there? Some of these little mountain climbers, they're no more than about 5'8" and about 10 stone wet through. And as Jalabert drops off the pace here a bit, well, his overall position at the moment, he's 20th on GC, having dropped for a second. I don't think he'd bother about losing a few more places if he had to do today. He's done his work to keep Zülle up near the front. The battle is raging for who's going to get the victory today. Can Escartin catch Jimenez? Really riding himself to a standstill, this fella. In fact, it wouldn't be too bad if Escartin could catch Jimenez. He's got to pull in Serrano, his teammate now. Serrano was in that early breakaway. The sheer power of Escartin here. He's got to go for a stage victory today. He's got to really bury himself on this climb. Now, will the two of them work together? Serrano looks back very quickly. If he just kept a little bit of effort, yes, he can. That's interesting. His team manager might have told him just to take it easy, because Fernando Escartin, Coti, C-O-I-T-I, Coti is his mother's name, is now with the other Kelme rider, and we're up with our lead at the moment, Jimenez. And this fella, tremendously useful climber, 25 years of age. He comes from Portugal as such. He had 12 victories as an amateur and then turned pro in 1993. And now he's got 2 seasoned people coming up for him here, because Escartin, putting the place on the front. Sorry about that, we keep losing the old pictures, but we'll try and keep you back in touch. There we are, up to the pine forest. This lovely long drag up the mountain. I call it lovely, you might think it's a beautiful sight, but the riders really are struggling at the moment. And not many riders left in that group, that chasing group, which we could call the main pack. Yeah, give me a quick look through there. Most of the top riders still with it. There's Bobby Julich, number 11. I was saying yesterday, has been approached by many teams now to try and join their squads. He's got more offs on the table than he can shake a stick at. So the motor are doing quite well. They're down to the 3 musketeers. Yes, there are 4 of them at the moment. Bobby Julich, Kevin Livingston, Andrea Perron, and Axel Merckx, and they're all at least 3 of them in this little group still. So perhaps we'll see if maybe all 4 of them. So they're doing quite well, these lads. And still Jimenez up on the front here. I say turned pro just 3 years ago. But Escartin has left Serrano, his teammate, and there he is further back down the road. Finished 8th in the Tour de France this year, Escartin. So a man with good form, and was looking for a place on the podium in the top 3 overall, but he's really now got to go for a stage victory. And there is a big bunch hovering behind him, or what's left of the bunch, with Zülle doing the work on the front. Now he's been left to do it on the front now. They recognise that the Once team are recovered, and so nobody's going to do the same thing they did before and give him too much help. So it's up to Zülle to reel in the escapers. Now he's going to reel in Konishev, who's not going to get a stage victory, as he did on the stage 18 into Zaragoza. And an attack then, some pressure coming on from the Lotus team. This is interesting. They really are jumping around. See Rominger close the gap down, and they really have spread the field. That's a nice little move then by Fabian Jecker. I think his idea was to just go out there and shake a few more branches so the leaves come down, and he's done just that. So they're really falling off the back here. Jecker on the front with Dufaux behind him. Little Julich on the far side. In the white jersey, it's Rominger. On the yellow jersey on the right-hand side, it's Zülle. Jecker's doing a very useful ride here for Dufaux. And Escartin hammering along here, trying to get back up to Jimenez in the front. Notched up, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 successes last year. Won a stage in the Tour of Aragon. Overall, he's winner of the Tour of Aragon. He won the overall in the Tour of the Mining Valleys. He won the Zaragoza Samaniago. So Escartin chasing after Jimenez here. Jimenez actually was born in El Barraco, which is in the province of Avila, so he's not far away. Avila, we've just been coming out of there at the moment, heading back in toward the finish today at Segovia, so he knows very well these roads locally here. And encouragement coming again. I'm just looking to see the names on the road. Clavero, Danny, whoever he might be, but I can't see one yet for the local man here, Jimenez. I suppose if you live in this part of the world and you're used to climbing the mountains, then that's what you're good at and that's what you do. And Escartin after him. The noise of the crowd here. He only had one success last year when he won a stage in the Tour of Catalonia. His best year, I suppose, was 1994 when he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 victories. And here Escartin, a battle between the 2 Spaniards. We've not seen this in the Tour so far, but the Spaniards haven't had the best of the output of the race in terms of success. They've been there or thereabouts, they've been attacking, they've been in the breaks, but they haven't actually got the stage victories. And can these two do something about it now? I should have thought these mountain goats, after the first 9 days on the flat, must have been just waiting to get into the mountains. Well, we did get into the big climbs. They couldn't quite stay with it, as now Serrano gets pulled back. And he's going to take this King of the Mountains climb. Jimenez, he's not in any great threat to Rominger, who leads overall in the King of the Mountains competition. But riding himself here into the ground to try and get a stage victory. It's all downhill from here. The profile, in fact, when I say downhill, it drops down suddenly, and then there's a nasty little flick at the back of it. The climb up to the distilleries, actually the factory, I suppose you can call a factory. I don't know what you call a place you make whiskey. Well, I do in Scotland, but I don't know what you call it in Spain. Where the distilleries, there's a sharp little twisting climb up towards the finish. So in fact, it could still work out to be an advantage. It only goes up maybe about 20 or 30 meters, but it's enough to make it difficult. So he's thundering down here off the top of that climb. Keep your fingers crossed to see if he can get the finish and win the stage. This is the main group getting up towards the top of the last climb of the day. On the left-hand side, I'm sure we're going to see Rominger do what he can to collect some more points at kicking him out. He's got so many then. This is the last climb of the Tour of Spain 1996 as such, because going on in towards the time trial stage tomorrow, that's as flat as a pancake, and the trip round from Madrid to Madrid isn't going to cause any problems either. So Tony Rominger, not being first at the top of this climb, he's won most of the climbs so far today, confidently wearing that white jersey. At least he got something to show for his race this year, even if he can't challenge for overall honours. What a chase we've got here then, with 25 kilometres to go, with Escartin thundering after Jimenez. Jimenez taking the final climb of the day, the last first category climb in the Tour of Spain this year. And there's the gap on your screen between Jimenez, Escartin and the main bunch. When I say main bunch, there's a fragmented lot of riders here. I don't think there's much more than about 30 of them. It hasn't been a sort of disastrous day, as we saw yesterday, with the pressure really put on by young Dufo, who didn't get that much back in terms of time, but he pushed himself in second place, really putting the pressure on Jalabert, who's now dropped out the frame and down to 20th. But here we go, dropping off this top here. Again, you see, with your mountain climbers, they're not usually your best descenders, and that bunch behind, only 1 minute, they might well catch these two and sweep them up before we get the finish, but they're going to ride themselves into oblivion to see if they can get there first. 25 kilometres, most of it downhill. It'll probably take no more than, well, certainly inside half an hour, I suppose, so it'll all be decided in the next 30 minutes or so. That's all very well. The next thing you have to watch out for, these sharp hairpin bends. The big sweepers aren't too bad. It's a well-made road, this one, a nice smooth road as such. But you've got to keep your eye ahead, and what you try and do is you look to analyse how tight the bend is. I mean, certainly I should think that Jimenez, who comes from this neck of the woods, will know this descent. In fact, he might well have come and practiced on this descent before the tour started. It's quite well known in some of the big tours that if you set your stall out and say, look, I'd like to win that particular stage, they'll actually not only go and ride up it, but they'll find the fastest way down it, and he'll know the lines to take on the descent. Watch this. A nice big sweeping bend. He can virtually take it full bore, hardly touch the brakes. Now it's his turn. Thank goodness it's dry. When they're dropping down here, thick end of 50 miles an hour. Out the saddle. Looking back, you can see back up where Escartin is coming out. What a chase we've got. Escartin looks like being the craziest descender of these two. He's chipping the corners, he's going right to the edge as he comes out. And I would think that he's probably pulling back Jimenez now. Here, live on Eurosport. What a chase. of them absolutely burying themselves on the way down here. Shouts from the motorcyclist behind him. He's got it on the biggest sprocket on the front of the double chainring. He's got on the smallest sprocket at the back of his 8-speed block. And when he can't pedal anymore, you just got to streamline yourself, then touch your brakes, make sure not to ram them on. You can't afford to lock the wheel, by the way, because you can soon lose control. And these bends aren't tight enough there to want you to put... Great! I don't know if you, like me, I'm descending with them. I thought, hey, under brakes, watch this. They're out the saddle. A flat-out race. We don't see a bike race often conducted at 50 miles an hour thereabouts between two blokes. Oh, it's coming down Escartin. He certainly seems to me to be the... Look at how he cuts the corners. You watch the two different styles. He's slightly heavier, I would say, than Rodriguez. The advantage of this backpack here, by the way, is that you can also get the slipstream effect when they drop in behind each other. So you can go that little bit quicker on the straight parts here. They go around the bends at the same sort of speed as the other two riders ahead of them. But sometimes coming down here, there's a slipstream effect going on, and they can come down that little bit quicker, particularly if you've got some crazy person in the first one, two or three places. Well, this little fella here weighs 70 kilograms. He's 1 meter 83 tall, whatever that is in English money, I couldn't tell you, but he certainly looks the lighter and the smaller of these two. Unfortunately, yes, the roads are closed. But you can imagine, you see, because those of you who may not follow cycle racing very much may have heard of the name Pantani, the crash he had last October. He's on his way back, but he's in a descent, not quite like this one, but they were thundering down here in a group of about 3 or 4 riders. They were trying to get back up to a breakaway in front, and somebody allowed a 4-wheel drive vehicle to come up the other way. And of course these chaps are just relying on the fact the road is absolutely closed. They just have to trust in that as well. But on this occasion, this 4-wheel drive came out of the forest somewhere and just decided to go straight back away. And whack, they went straight into it. And of course poor old Pantani broke both his legs very seriously, and he's been struggling to get back on form ever since. But we wish him well. He's got a contract to race next year as well with the team that used to be the Carrera team. They changed the name now. They're another team as such, but nevertheless, he looks like he's got a contract next year. And Kirpucci's left the team. I think he's going for to Amore Vita, Kirpucci. Well, I'm not quite certain of that one, but certainly the 2 specialist climbers will be splitting next year, and I just hope the Pantani will recover. Of course, the trouble is, once you spend the best part of 12 months out of action, although he has been doing some training, he's been in a bath, keeping his legs moving when he couldn't walk on them. He's been doing some training on a fixed training bike, and he's been out on his bike doing a bit now. It's a lot to build back up again, the strength which you have in your legs through the years and years of bike racing. And of course, I suppose, too, the time's going to come for Pantani when he gets back in a big race, a big serious one. He's doing what these riders are doing, absolutely hammering down a mountainside to try and protect the lead you've got on the climb. Is that in the back of their head, this sort of nagging thought of a crash. But even though you know the road's going to be closed down, if you just lose control of the bike and go over the edge of one of these mountains, then certainly you always, I think, must have, if you had a serious crash, just a little bit of a nagging worry there. It's going to take a lot for him to forget that accident. Now the bunch don't look too bothered at the moment. I think they're going to wait till it flattens out. Well, it doesn't flatten out all that much, but they're probably going to wait till he gets to the bottom of the climb and then start to work together to try and pull these two back. It's our leader, Jimenez. They're coming down off the Porta de Navacerrada. They're going through next the San Ildefonso La Granja, and then when they get to La Granja, they'll just have 11 kilometers to run in towards the finish. Back with Konachev, who started all the action earlier on. They're getting towards being off the most hectic part of this. Oh, Konishev's come back. Where did he come from? I was just looking at Konishev and checking that notes on how far they've got to go, and up pops Konishev nonchalantly having a drink, and with 15 k's to go then, I should have stopped looking at my notes and should have kept my eye on the screen, shouldn't I? But Konishev popped out quickly, and now we get a nice little time check coming up here. Well, that's typical of Konishev. He did exactly the same thing on this climb when they went through way back. Where was that? Just a minute. It was after 95 kilometres of racing. Now it's 195 again, I suppose, or thereabouts. So about 100 kilometres ago, it was the same trick that Konishev did. See, but look, he's a big fella. See, look at the size of him. So obviously he can descend, and he's one of those mad chaps who'll just throw all caution in the wind. So he's jumped across a gap of over 40 seconds to get up to Escartin, and now they've got Jimenez in their sights. So watch Konishev on the way down. That's Zülle, Jalabert on the front. Jalabert sagged off on the climb, so that gap can't be much more than about another 10 seconds back to them either, so it must be no more than half a minute from front to back now, so we could see this lot coming together. And perhaps Jalabert going for a bunch sprint. Well, it won't be bunch because they've got a little bit of a climb up to the distilleries. He tried, they were about 54 seconds back to that main group. There again, if these two catch up with Jimenez and work well, it looks like Axel Merckx driving away on the front of this little group. Well, the four musketeers, or sorry, three musketeers being four in number of Motorola, have now got themselves together on the front and are leading the charge here. Could be looking for a stage victory. They can put it back. You can see a difference in style and size of these riders. See Konishev, a great big body on him. Well, it's a great big body. He's probably on about 5'11" or there, 5'10", 5'11". Where the other fellows here around about 5'7", I suppose, 5'6", 5'7". But he's, you can see by the size of his bike and his overall position on the bike here, he's a much taller, much bigger fellow. And they've now got Jimenez in their sights. See, look at this fellow, quite small, typical mountain climber. When he comes to descend, they just don't have the weight. Many years ago, forgive me if I've told the story before, that the rumour went round that John Robic, who was very small indeed, that when he'd get to the top of the mountain climbs, they used to hand him up a feeding bottle. In those days we had aluminium feeding bottles, and the actual aluminium feeding bottle would be full of lead, and they put it on the bike to give him some weight to go down. Well, that's fact or fiction, I don't know, but certainly he needed all the extra weight he could get with Robic. Konishev's certainly coming good towards the back end of this year, and if he gets himself another stage victory there, of these three, if they stay away, I think that sort of finish might suit him. It's a power run in towards the finish, but the Motorola team on the front here, three of them, have other ideas. And certainly with Axel Merckx going to the Polte team next year, with the Polte riders in that group, he'll happily tow them along if he can do. So there they are, springing after our three breakaways who might be caught any moment now. The Motorola steamroller riding hard on the front here. Kevin Livingston is pulling off. And these are the three riders they're chasing down. They've now come back together after Jimenez went over the top of the climb in first spot. Escartin launched himself into second spot over the climb. Konishev got dropped from that early breakaway group. Has now come back out of the main pack, shown supreme ability on the descent to come through here and join up with these two leaders. They're getting, I think, towards the into La Prada now, and then in towards the 10 kilometre go point, with the big bunch thundering on after them. Having come over the top of that Tirada pass, the sun shining, on what is in the winter a very great ski resort as such. And we're just going through El Paula, and I don't know if we actually picked the thing up, but they've got a very nice glassworks there. It's been abandoned right now, but it's been reoccupied by the Benedictines, because it was a monastery at one time, and then it's turned into glassworks, and then they've gone back in it. But our camera seems to be more interested in the race, which is quite right, it should be so. And there they are. Back with Jalabert. It was looking good today after yesterday. Gosh, he was rough when he came in. We of course, we could see him, and you couldn't, because he got off the head by then, but the poor lad at the finish, and I say all the Once team was whipped away, and I wonder in some respects they're coming along now, the significance of the cartoon in the French Velo magazine this week, of this Once here, they're riding on yellow bikes, as you see, and this, the cartoon on the back page of Velo, I don't know if any of you chaps get it in Great Britain, but on the back page of the cartoon, you always want it in the thing anyway, and it shows a chef on the side of the road. All the crowd are looking back down the road for the riders to come through, and here we are with 10 kilometres to go for our leaders, and on the road further on this little sketch, this little cartoon, are the team soigneurs with their feeding bags ready to hand up to the riders, you see. So you've got these chaps out there with the bags like you've seen on the tours in the past, and all the crowd looking down, and there this chef is holding up a bicycle frame, just the main frame, not the forks, on a piece of string. And I don't know if any of you have been Boy Scouts, and when you go to camp, when it's meal times, they have this thumping great triangle, and they get a sticker and dang, 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 when it's time to have meal. What he's doing is holding up this frame, and he's hitting it with a stick, so it's obviously ringing for the riders coming through like it's noshing time. And the frame is painted yellow, and I thought, is there some significance? Because the Once team, who have yellow bikes, have just had stomach trouble from their food. So I thought, well, that cartoon, there's no laughing matter when you've got the trouble they've had. And if you see this, Mr. Jalabert, I'm sure it wasn't intended in any way to be a foreboding of the future. Well, there we go, whipping round in São Ildefonso is the town they're going through now. Again, I hope we might pick up. There's another place that's got a lot of glassworks, by the way. And what they used to do in the glassworks here is that they would make the mirrors in the glassworks here. So it's quite a well-known place for manufacturing mirrors. And the odd trouble was that every time they used to sort of send them off to the Spanish palaces who wanted the mirrors, that they used to break on the way, and it became a very expensive thing to do. And the transport made it difficult to make any money out of the thing at all. Here we are, 8 kilometres to go for our breakaway groups. And in fact, an Irishman, John Dowling, managed the works for many years, and then decided to change over from the glassworks to cutlery manufacturing. That's the town we've just gone through in the background. Can be known as La Granja, or as San Ildefonso, as we've now got on our list here. And then out of the town and heading in towards the finish. Oh, they're going to catch them. That's a great effort on their part, but I think it's going to come to nothing now. And very much the Motorola team are the people that have done the damage here. But as they're going up to disparate teams next time round, I think what they're doing here is just trying to get themselves in with a shout for a few prizes at the end of the day stage. So they got caught 7 kilometres out, or just inside 7 Ks. What a shame. I'd hoped that Escartin or Jimenez might have stayed away. But I suppose that mountain climbers aren't that good at winding along like we're seeing here, with the big hitters starting to roll now. A fair-sized bunch of blokes we've got in this field today. Axel Merckx, if you're looking at the back of that little group, the Motorola rider with the blondish hair. There are about 30 riders in this group. So anybody in the top places, and that looks like Bunyo riding his way off the front here. Well, he tried to get the stage victory the other day, and with 7 kilometres to go, there seems to be a long way out to go. And you see, like how rock steady he is. I know I may be biased about Bunyo. He's rock steady on his bike, and he's putting in tremendous power. The gap is opening up. There's a good example by some of your young bike riders. I see some of them tugging on the handlebars, heads rocking, and shoulders going up and down as they push the pedals down. Rock, 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 rock. And it's not the way to do it. It's to hold yourself still, hold yourself steady, and just put all the power down into your legs. There he goes. And I'm lecturing again, but that is a prime example of how to accelerate away from a fast-moving bunch by Bjarne Bunyo. Bunyo making it look so easy, but there's a lot of power in those legs, and he's showing some form at the moment. Bear in mind that, well, in about 10 days' time we start the World Championship. In fact, Sunday, 2 weeks this coming Sunday, will be the Elite Road Championship, and Bunyo, if he keeps this sort of form, could well be in with a shout, because the challenge will work very hard for anybody who's in good form, and they'd love to get a victory. In fact, he's riding on a Copy bike here, and when we come to do the World Championships, I should probably bore you terribly with Copy's success when he won on the same circuit at Lugano. So we're going to have to wait for that. That's on Sunday, 2 weeks as such. But how interesting if Bunyo could win the race there, one of Fausto Coppi's most memorable moments on a Copy bicycle. And there he goes. Oh, we've got some little skywriters up in the sky. If you look at the back of this bunch, you see how they're all jumping around to hang on to wheels. That gives you some idea of the speed at which Bunyo's travelling on his own. And there they are, all strung out, all that lot chasing down one man. It's amazing he's gone so far out, actually, because Bjarne works it out very good. He's got a very clever racing head, but on these straight roads into here, he's got to go some to stay away from this bunch. Well, Motorola have done a lot of chasing so far. The Once are down to Jalabert and Zülle. I don't think that we'll find Jalabert doing much chasing. I think he'll try and wait for somebody else to do the work after his problems of yesterday. So with 4 kilometres to go, the gap is probably about, about 20 seconds, I suppose, back between Bunyo and this main group. In fact, it's a bit less than that. A quick check on my clock, and I think we're into about 12 seconds is the gap. So this really is a do-or-die attempt. See how the muscles on his arms. I told you about being rock steady. You can see how he's holding on the handlebars to keep his body steady, to push the power into his legs. And there the muscles on his arms are showing that he's just holding that bike. That is sheer power. Well, they say 10, I said 12. You see the rainbow stripes on his jersey there. I mentioned before, they're allowed to do that once you've been a world champion. He's on his aluminium Copy bike here, pedaling away like fury to stay away from that field. But they've got him so easily in sight, and it's going to go on a bit like this towards they run in towards the finish at the distilleries. Just 3 kilometres to go. That's about just over 3 minutes, about 3.5 minutes, I suppose, at this sort of speed. He really is hammering along here, Bunyo. Looking at that group, I thought probably Pulte, who seemed to have got quite a fair number of riders in there, might have been able to get on the front, but there's no real concerted effort. Nobody seems to be able to whip up a group of riders to say, come on, it's time we all got together on this one. And so Bunyo's got a certain advantage here. That none of the teams want to get together. The Spaniards must try and do something about it. I know that Jimenez and Escartin are probably a bit puffed from their attempt to stay away. This is a very, very strong move by Bunyo, because see how much they're all strung out there. He's riding virtually one man against the rest without much team cohesion behind him. And the gap I make it round about 14 seconds. Bunyo just inching his way, or centimetre his way, towards the finish. And a main pack splitting a little bit on the descent here. One of the Motorola riders thrown caution to the wind and gone away. And here we are, 1 kilometre to go, and that's a little slight drag up towards the finish, and it twists and turns. And in fact, the twists and turns through the S-bends running up toward the finish could well suit the one man on his own. So Bunyo might be able to get this one as that rider goes on to the 1 kilometre to go at 12 seconds. The main pack men coming on the 1 kilometre to go at 16 seconds. So that's all that separates Bjarne Bunyo from the people behind him. Just a slender lead he's got, and this twists and turns up toward the finish at the distilleries at DYC. It just rises a little bit, and he's got the power. It looks like he could get the second stage victory in the Tour this year, as far as he's concerned. He'll take a left-hander coming in toward the finishing straight with just a few hundred metres to go, and this undoubtedly has been a superb performance by Bunyo to go away from this pack. He just launched himself off at a great rate of knots, and he survived it. This is probably one of the best long breaks we've had in this race so far. I mean, coming toward the finish in those last few kilometres, and he's out the saddle now, and the gap 10 seconds back. It looks like it'll be enough to get him home and dry then for a stage victory here today. Bjarne Bunyo, who tried so hard to get a victory, what was it, a few days ago when he finished in third spot, disgusted having done the work, but now he's come good, and he's going in then to the applause of the crowd. A well-timed effort by Bunyo to get away, and it's paid off then. He was on the stage in Zaragoza when he just finished third behind Konachev and Hamburger. When he tried to get that one, he blew up just running into the finish. He'd had a long breakaway with Konachev and Hamburger and Velotti. On that occasion, he went for the finishing line, but he went too early, and he got passed by the other two. But this time he judged it absolutely to perfection. Are we looking at a new world champion, I asked myself, as Rominger leads in the group just behind him. It's enough, though, that gap to give Bunyo the stage victory. Rominger comes in as second spot, and then behind him looks like the Skriniar Blue Storm, then a Telecom rider coming in. They're all in here together. The yellow jersey of Alex Zülle, home safe and dry. That of Dufresne. Well, shouldn't be any changes on the overall classification. I'm just quickly looking down now to see who was in that group. I think we've got just about everybody who's anybody home and dry at the moment. So a success for Bunyo, and yet again the Spaniards without a success. The Italians now in the Tour. That's another victory for Italy. Absolutely tremendous the amount of victories they've been having. Yesterday, of course, it was a Swiss man, Dufresne, that won the stage, but here Bjarne Bunyo notching up yet another victory for the Italians. And he got on to Victor Ostrom to receive the flowers of victory. And perhaps we may be able to stay on air and watch it. I'm not quite sure what our time scale is, but Bjarne Bunyo timed that one absolutely to perfection. The usual noisy finish of the conditions today at the DYC Distilleries headquarters, and seen an Italian victory. Bjarne Bunyo adding those to his victories in the Tour of France and the Tour of Italy. It stays Stage 21 in the Tour of Spain. The Race of Truth, the kilometre time trial covering 44 kilometres from Segovia to DYC. DYC, the headquarters of the whisky company who've been sponsoring the sprint series in the race. We're looking at Tony Rominger here, who a few days ago said that he will be the judge of how this race is won or lost. He's shown it the last few days by superb riding when he's been controlling things, and certainly we saw him on the one occasion helping Zülle when the rest of the Once team was sick. A gentleman's effort then by Tony Rominger, who's out to try and get the victory today in this time trial. The last man to go will be Alex Zülle, leading overall on general classification. At this particular point here, we're looking at 24 kilometres for the first time check. There on your screen, Laurent Jalabert, 33:13:32. A good ride for Jalabert. He's way off the overall classification now. He lies 19th on GC this morning, 26 minutes and 10 seconds down, and he lost all of that when he had that terrible day with sickness and took a tremendous thrashing when Jufo went off and thrashed everybody as well on the stage from Getafe to Avia. Back then with Tony Rominger. A superb time trialist, this man, and really on his own today. I think he must be looking for a stage victory, but we mustn't discount Alex Zülle. Both these two battling it out on the first of the time trials that we had in the Tour. And now we're watching for Jecke to come in here. Not going to perhaps feature in the top 10 because, as always in these races, we time them so that the fastest men come in last of all in reverse order of general classification. And Jecke for the Lotus team finishing now. Yes, going back to the time trial we had on stage 10 in the race, Rominger won that one. He was 2 seconds ahead of Zülle. Indurain was in third spot at 27 seconds, and of course he's out of it now, Indurain, and Melkamari in fourth spot at 1 minute and 50 seconds. So Tony Rominger already has a scalp to his success in this race so far. And there he was at 15 kilometres, he's showing now good. Nardello has set up quite a useful time so far, but Rominger now that much faster. Rominger start this morning in fifth spot, 8 minutes 42 seconds down on Alex Zülle, and he lost all that time on that day 3 when the bunch split, well, 7.5 minutes of it to be precise, but since then he lost a bit more here and there, but he hadn't had the determination to chase down the few seconds here and there. He's just been sat in there, riding himself into fifth place at the moment. He was 60-something after the end of that day when the field split. We're now watching Jimenez come into sight. Jimenez this morning, 10th overall on the classification. He's 15 minutes and 23 seconds down. There's quite a nice little battle going on here, by the way, because Jimenez, Escartin and Serrano are spread by only 6 seconds. Jimenez is 10th overall, 15:23. Escartin is 11th overall, 15:23 as well. And Serrano is 12th overall at 15:29. So they've got quite a little battle between those three of them to try and change the positions round a bit. Well, pick up Jufo out on the road. Really riding along here. That was a revelation of his ride the other day, which smashed the whole thing wide open. And the Lotus team, I spoke to Stephen Hodge, very pleased. They said that they were going well yesterday. Stephen said he had a good day. He was on the front from 17 to 90 kilometres, driving along to keep the thing together. And he said he was alongside Neil Stevens when he was being very sick indeed, and is not surprised when he climbed off and abandoned yesterday. There we are, up with Escartin. And let's see what his time's going to be here. Jalabert still the fastest. Good ride by Jalabert. He started off looking like a cycle tourist. He came out at the start at Segovia and didn't look too quick at all, but he wound up his speed and has been going quite quickly. Amazing to think how sick he was a few days ago when he dropped from 2nd to 20th overall. So starting with a little battle with Jimenez, 33:38, and back then with the Lotus Festina rider. In fact, I was talking to Stephen Hodge about why it was that so many riders seemed to help Zülle on that day when his teammate went to one. He said, well, Dufay was riding hard, but it really was, as Dufay said afterwards, one against the lot. It wasn't quite like that. What was happening, that Pulte were looking for some extra time for the team classification. They're leading overall at the moment. On that particular day, they got 3 men in the group with Zülle and Rominger when this fellow was away up the front, and so with 3 other riders. So they had to ride hard because they were trying to put distance between themselves and the other teams on general classification, ready for the time trial, because they don't look upon themselves as the world's greatest time trial. So coming into the race today, we're looking at Alex Zülle out on the road here. Pulte are the overall team leaders. Banesto second by 13 minutes and 22 seconds, and Motorola third by 15 minutes and 5 seconds. So you can see why the Pulte riders rode very hard on that day behind Dufay, because they wanted to make sure they were in a good position for the team classification, and their riders are not the world's greatest time trials. We'll have to wait and see today, because they're up against some tough opposition. And certainly the 2 Motorola riders, Perron and Julik, are good time trialists, and I think Aiden abetted, probably by Merckx, if he's in good form today, or Livingston, they might be able to give a bit of a thrashing to Pulte on the overall team. But anyway, there's Bobby Julik. Let's see what he's doing at this point. He's got to count well in the team competition. So he's not going to be in the top 4 at the moment, or is he just going to beat Casero? No. So there he goes through 33-34 in 5th spot for Bobby Julik. And if you didn't hear my program earlier on, he's got about 5 or 6 inquiries, has Bobby Julik, from teams. At the end of this year, he's not going to be with the Motorola squad, which has folded. He looked like he had to go back to America. He's been one of the revelations of the tour, and he, amongst the offers, in fact, Stephen Hodge was saying he told their team manager, Russo, he said, go and have a chat with him, because you might find the lad useful to have on the team. So about Zülle. Oh, sorry about the picture breakup at the moment. Zülle riding number 1 at the moment. He's the overall race leader, wears the yellow jersey. And spare a thought for the man who's last overall, because Henri Redant trailing at the moment, 116 riders left in the race. We're going back to the finish here for the Petit Casino rider, Chanteur. Chanteur lying 16th. Hang on, that's general classification. Chanteur, let's look at this one. I'll just look at yesterday's result. Sorry about that. He's coming in here now. He's going to be outside the top 20. He lies 20th overall on general classification at the moment, and some of the gaps at the back there are reasonably great. He's only, 26 minutes and 12 seconds. Jalabert 26.10, and so he'll probably get pushed down as Jalabert keeps going on like this, when the gap opening up. And there he goes. One of the riders that really suffered yesterday, by the way, and that, I think, is him coming in now, Peter Meinhardt, I think, just being caught by Jalabert. So Jalabert out on the road, going very well indeed. Peter Meinhardt dropped from 18th to 21st yesterday, had a real struggle, because we saw the front end of the race, but behind a lot of riders are coming in very late. And here Jalabert comes through now. What's his time? He's going to be first, yes, 55.24. An amazing recovery then by Jalabert from the sickness which affected him. He's certainly going to keep that points jersey on his back. But the interesting thing is that as we go back here to Dufay, if you look at the points competition, because they award points as they go across the line, and the overall leader was that red jersey you saw there, being worn by Jalabert. The position is that he's got 207 points, as we see Dufay powering along here in 1st spot. Minali has got 143 points on the points competition. That's when they take the points at the riders go across the line at the end, and those interim sprints as well. And then behind, Alex Zülle's got 119 points. Watch Rebellin here in 9th spot. I told you that the Pulte riders weren't too great when it comes to time. That's a useful ride, but he's got to keep it going towards the end. But 3rd, 4th and 5th at the moment, as we look at the... Oh, Zülle's got ahead of Rominger. And Jalabert right down in 5th spot at 58 seconds. Dufay's into 4th spot. Nardello, that's a good ride by Nardello in 3rd. But look at Zülle and Rominger locked in combat here, the 2 Swiss riders. And I was talking about the battle in the general points competition with Zülle with 119 points, Tom Steels with sprint 117. Well, Tom won't get any points today. Tony Romiger's got 115 points. So in fact, the battle between Zülle and Romiger, if Romiger can beat Zülle in the time trial, he could move up probably into third spot on the points competition. And the other thing about Romiger down the road, he could move into third overall. I'll tell you a bit about that in a moment when I just jot down Perron's time here. He's doing a good ride. I said that Perron, because he's been a past member of the junior time trial squad that won gold medals in the Italian team squad, and then he went on to get medals as well as a rider with the Italian senior squad. In fact, he got the silver medal in the foursome at Barcelona, having got the gold in Stuttgart the year before. And back then with Romiger out on the road. Yeah, mention about Romiger. He starts this morning 8 minutes 42 seconds down on Zülle, but Toschnig ahead of him is separated by only some 5 seconds as such, and Toschnig is not one of the world's greatest time trialists. And Pistori of Italy is 1 minute and 29 seconds ahead of Romiger on general classification. So Romiger could be riding into third spot on general classification and third spot on the points if he keeps up a good ride, which he's started to do so far. So this could be quite a historic day today, because if they do that on the overall classification, we have Zülle, Dufo and Romiger in first, second and third at the end of the day. That's going to mean that the Swiss are dominating this race in the top 3 places. They've never done it before, and we'll have to wait and see if that's how it works out. A great day here. We're back with Tony Romiger on this time trial stage, 43.7, say 44 kilometres from Segovia to the distilleries at DYC. It's a twisting course. It zigs in and out and zigs backward again, and there's no worry with the wind today because it's a relatively hot day, no real strong wind at all. Some roads mixed like you see here, fairly narrow roads, and some of them fairly wide, particularly the run-in very similar to the one we had yesterday on the stage. Alex Zülle here on your screen at the moment in the yellow jersey, overall race leader, being challenged very much by Romiger. Just a few seconds separate them at that first time check after some 15 kilometres of racing. Just 7 seconds in fact in it. And Zülle determined, I think, to stamp his authority on the race here, which is being run off at a record average speed. And as we look down here at Romiger, I see a car in front. He's probably beginning to catch his 2-minute man. But let's just give you a position as he comes up to this time check where Jalabert is in the lead. That our average speed of this race so far is 39.889. I'm not talking about this time trial, I'm talking about the actual overall race average, 39.889 kilometres per hour. It's just a fraction outside 40 kilometres an hour, 25 miles an hour. Today's stage is certainly going to be over that sort of speed, and tomorrow with a flat stage, Madrid, we might see them get close to 40 kilometres an hour overall, and really that's going to be a superb speed that they battle over these 22 days of racing. Romiger then goes in the lead, 32.03. That's a tremendous lead for Tony Romiger. 32.03. Jalabert is forward, 33.13. It shows the sheer ability of this man as a time trialist. The ex-world hour record holder, he got it a couple of times, but Chris Boardman knocked it completely sideways just on 3 weeks ago. Just to give you some idea of how good his time trialing is, in 1994, when he last won the Tour of Spain, he won it 3 times on the trot. He had 21 victories that year, of which 8 of them were time trials. Of course, he's been overshadowed a little bit by the great Miguel Indurain, but nevertheless, on the day, on the right spots, and against the opposition, he can go very well indeed when it comes to riding against the watch. He's also won the Grand Prix National, that classic time trial that Chris Boardman won just on a week ago as well. So watching one of the world's superb time trialists in action. Last year, Tony won some, 17 races, of which 5 were time trials as well. He only managed 5th, though, in the Olympic time trial this year. A couple of minutes down on Indurain. Overall 10th at Tour de France. He set his heart at doing a great ride, but just couldn't come up to it. Quite interesting character, actually. he's come good now, because in the old days he had hay fever and he could only really ride in the early season. That's why he would ride the things like the Paris-Nice and just win that one. As he had done in the past, he'd won stage, he won it overall a couple of times. But once the sun started to shine and the pollen started to flow, then Tony always had troubles with hay fever, but they've cured that from him, so he can now ride all the year round. Here we are, back end of the year, with Rominger fighting to try and get to the performance today that'll give him a victory in the time trial. Axel Merck, oh, this is a bit disappointing. Let's hope that when they put his time together with Perron and Bobby Julich, it will help the Motorola squad. He doesn't seem to be going too well at the moment. He should finish in the top 20, no, 25 overall, I suppose, at the end of it. So that could put the team award still in slight balance. So that's going to be a very close one right way through at the end of the race in Madrid, the team award. There are 44 kilometres he's just done, finishing in 18 spots. So he'll probably make 25th, I suppose, overall, which isn't bad out 116 riders left in this race. The last time it was over 39 kilometres per hour, the average for the race was in 1990, and the fastest ever Tour of Spain was in 1984 when they did 39.869 kilometres per hour. Well, they're over that average now. It's not going to go beyond that, so we're seeing a record-breaking Tour of Spain. Who said at the end of the year they'd be so tired that they wouldn't be able to race? We've seen some days when the action didn't look too good, but they were going so fast, though, that we still got a fastest average speed. And in fact, that Arnie Redant was telling me when I spoke to him yesterday that it was very hard again yesterday, and the other day when they averaged 53 kilometres in the first hour. He just said it's unbelievable the speed at which this race goes. And we're looking in for Toshnig. Now here again, this is a Polte rider. Let's see how he's going against Tony Romiger's time. Toshnig is in danger then of losing out to Romiger. What's the time check here going to be? He's 33.32, 1 minute and 29 seconds down. Now he started this morning. In fact, that's it. He started 35 seconds down, so he's lost his spot to Tony Romiger now. So Tony Romiger's moved up into fourth spot, because that 5-second gap has now been well and truly thrashed open by Tony Romiger. 1 minute 29 seconds up on Toshnig. He's now fourth then. Tony Romiger on your screens. Quite interesting family, actually. His father likes to ride, and although he's in his early 60s, actually rides about 15,000 kilometres a year, and usually comes out on the Tour de France and the Vuelta de España to ride around most of the course to see his lad in action. Morillon coming in here, next to finish. Start this morning, 16th spot overall in general classification. He's about 2 minutes down on Nardello, so I don't see him shaking Nardello's time and moving up into the vacant spot above. So the Mappe rider looking back to see the results of his efforts. Some of the riders further down the list who are well in arrears, well, really used today as something to ride themselves into the ground for. But when you get further up into the top 20 places, if you can switch 2 or 3 places, the income change, because they grade the money down in the prize list. You're getting into some good money when you're up in the top 20, and if you can pinch a couple of places back, you earn a bit more there as well. And of course, respective of the team managers, if they're looking to employ you if you're out of a job at the end of the season. Now, Clivero coming in, he had a pretty poor day yesterday. He was 10th, he dropped to 14th yesterday, Clivero, and so he's now 10th, the MX Honda Eurosport rider. Pistore, now this is the man who's got to watch it, because Romiger this morning, 1 minute 29 seconds down on him. And there he goes, 1:27. So in fact, at the moment, Romiger is only 2 seconds adrift from Pistore on the third spot as Nardello comes in at 55.44, moving into second spot. That's a good ride as well from Nardello. The Mappe team, in fact, they might well get themselves the stage victory today if the Romiger goes on the way he's going. We've just seen some pretty useful rides coming in from this team. Going back then to Dufo. I was saying how Clivero missed the boat yesterday and dropped down from 10th to 14th on general classification. When we go off air, we don't have time to sit there and wait for else to come in. So looking back to yesterday, Clivero in fact finished 28th on the stage yesterday. He led in a group of blokes that were 3 minutes 23 seconds down. Most of the people you saw on our screen, as we wait for Dufo to come through here, and I'll write this one down and I'll come back to you in a minute. Let's see what he's doing here, Dufo, lying second overall. I can't see that Rominger can catch Dufo on general classification. There's 4 minutes and 20 seconds separating the two of them on the overall classification, but certainly with the Swiss Zülle leading at the moment and already on the early time check going faster than Rominger and is the overall race leader, and Dufo looking reasonably confident in his second spot. Unless something terrible happens to him, we could have that first, second and third the way it's going, because certainly Rominger now really has closed the gap up on Pistorius. He's only a couple of seconds away from taking over that third spot. 33.09, and so that 33.09 for Dufo. Well, Rominger's still the fastest, 32.03, and Zülle yet to come. Oh, he's going to catch his 2-minute man here. Rominger's just steaming up to Faustini, who just wonders what's happening. He's caught him so quick for a couple of minutes. That's an amazing performance. Coming up then toward the time check after 24 kilometres of racing, Tony Rominger, the fastest so far, 32.037. And we're now seeing if Zülle can take over that lead. It looks as they've just been down the road. He got a useful 7-second lead at the first time check, and in fact he's gone 31.54, so he's up on Rominger yet again. A tremendous performance here there by Zülle, but in fact by both Rominger and Zülle, because they're streets ahead of the rest of the race. And what good fortune it was then that Zülle didn't have the problems with the food that beset the rest of his team. While he's settling down here, I mentioned some of the riders that dropped back yesterday. Clavero in 28th spot in that bunch, which came in 3 minutes 23 seconds down. If we look then at confirmation of that position at 24.5 kilometres, Rominger at 9 seconds, Dufo 1:15. Jalabert, that's a great ride for Jalabert in 4th spot, considering his illness so far. And you can see the rest of them on your screen there at the moment. So the Polti riders, I said earlier on, weren't too happy about their time trial performance. That's why they battered on that day with all the sickness to get some time back, and it certainly paid off as far as they're concerned. But going further down the list of finishes yesterday, we had a group of riders coming from 58th down, led in by Jürgen Wenner. They were 25 minutes and 38 seconds down. Just give you some idea of the gaps that opened up yesterday when the battle raged over the two big mountains. We concentrated on the front end, but spare thought for the riders who were coming in 25 minutes and 38 seconds down to 115th. Okay, Zülle's round that one safe and sound. The last man to finish yesterday, Galdiano of the Escadi team, he finished 116th, 26 minutes and 8 seconds down, and the last shall be first, the first shall be last, because you saw our coverage of the first day of the Tour of Spain. Remember that he had a long lone breakaway and only got swallowed up as we came into the final few laps at the end of the first day's racing. Giannetti for Polti coming in, a 16th. That's got to be a team counter, I think, towards their hope to try and retain the team lead on the overall classification. Anyway, Galdiano yesterday in 116th spot. We had 3 retirements from the race. Remember, we started with 180 riders, so give you some idea that how many we've lost so far. What's that, 74 have gone so far? No, 64 have abandoned the race so far. Back with Rominger. If you've been away on holiday for a couple of weeks and haven't caught up with it all, then the reason he's wearing this white jersey is he's also king of the mountain. So if he can make it into the 3rd spot today on general classification and 3rd on the points classification and takes the king of the mountain jersey back, it just makes you think what would have happened if his team hadn't had that misfortune on the 3rd day to miss the break when Janse really hammered everybody into the ground. And this is the man whose team did the damage. And of course the rumours flying around that Janse might be looking to sign Miguel Indurain next year. Well, they've probably been scotched on that one, because the bank, the Banesto Bank, seemed to have offered him a position in Indurain as yet an unnamed position with the company for life. I don't know what they're going to do, but presumably if they get him on their PR side, but whatever it is, they seem to try to stall it by suggesting we'll keep you employed by us, and that looks like they'll try and make sure he doesn't sign for anybody else next year. An astute move on somebody's part. Serrano coming in here. Jalabert's time still the best, 55.24. But we know now from the time checks coming in from Zülle, Dufo, et al. That Jalabert will be pushed down a little bit down the finishing list. Serrano better as a mountain climb. We've seen him up there, 2 minutes down now. And in fact, looking, see, he rides for a Spanish team, Calme here, with his little footprint on the front, because they make shoes, the people Calme that sponsor him. I'm just wondering when we're going to get a Spanish victory, because I can't see there's not going to be a Spanish rider to get the time trial today. Escartin tried yesterday on the course, as I said to you, it was a very jagged course, looked a bit like crocodile teeth when you saw the profile of the course yesterday. Well, Escartin used the last big climb to try and get away. Serrano done the same thing, but it didn't work as far as they're concerned. So they're going to have to rely upon their little sprinter Ado in Madrid tomorrow to see if they can get one. There we are, that's your 32 points. Oh, just 121 back to Jalabert, 131 to Nardello, and there's no doubt about that. He's absolutely hammering along here, Rominger, opening up an enormous gap on this very rolling sporting course. And Faustini is hanging on a bit here. Now that's interesting. He was a great late turning pro, this fellow, but he was the best Italian last year. Had some 22 victories in total, which 15 all came in 3 months as such. So he's certainly now knowing how to time trial here well. Did a great ride in the Tour of Italy when he finished 7th overall. But in the time trial we had, let's look back at what his performance was in the time trial. He's having a go now, is Faustini, really working hard. He was 23rd in the first time trial we had at 5 minutes and 19 seconds, and here he is trying to hang on to Rominger. So Faustini's come good as the race has gone on. There's a few riders like that. They can perform better and better as the race goes on, whereas other people get more and more tired as things go. And talk about tiredness, by the way, I've had a chat on the telephone to Pat Liggett. She and Phil Liggett made it to John O'Groats from Land's End, coming 950 miles in 10 days. She said they feel really brilliant. Had a bad couple of days when they had to change the route. It was very tricky. They were watching Rominger go along this somewhat smooth route here, so Phil and Pat found that they'd chosen the CTC route was a bit sort of scenic, and they had to go on some of the main roads, but they managed it. Headwind most of the way, only one day was wet, and they raised something like about £2,000, and it's going up all the time for the Dave Rayner Fund. I'll talk about that tomorrow, because we're not going to have much time today with riders coming left, right and centre. But well done to our Channel 4 commentator and journalist friend Phil Liggett, now going to be the president of the Cyclist Touring Club. Jimenez coming in. Well, Benesto again will be looking for some team success today. See if they can get up there and sniffle that, get that team award back off Polti. Just 13 minutes and 22 seconds separating them. And Jimenez, this is quite a tidy ride, although he's well down the list. It'll help him on the team classification. Shows the difference. We've been over the mountains in these recent days, and these are people who are watching now, Jimenez, that have been entertaining us. And if we look back at the early list of the first time trial results we had, it was mainly the sprinter roadmen that were at the back end of the field, because they had dominated the race in the first 9 days. And here's the Escartin, the climber. Yes, they tried to get the stage victory, coming in 10th spot. A good time trial ride for him after yesterday's effort, when he really time trialed off the front and down the big mountain, try and get the stage victory. So really we're seeing that the mountain goats now, that this particular time trial on the 21st day of the race, compared with on the 10th day of the race, the people who are starting at the back end were all the big men and the sprinters who managed to get themselves in the good positions on the flatter courses. Back here with Dufo, and what did Dufo do on the first of the... he finished 12th actually, 4 minutes and 2 seconds down did Dufo on that first time trial we had. So that wouldn't be, I'd say, what is it, particularly good performance. But again, he's shown that sort of tenacity to hold on as the race goes on and to fight his way back. Bobby Julich coming in. Well, here's a man that has certainly got a lot of people looking after his signature, and that just shows you on the screen he can time trial as well. Third, it looks like he's going to third spot. This is a great ride by young Julich. Well, he's got most of his success in America on riding things like the Tour of the Holy Hill that he won. He likes the mountains, and he's shown some good climbing ability in this race. He had the leader's jersey for a short while, the mountains, and there he is in 5th spot, 56:13.09 for Bobby Julich. Well, that's a good on him. The sun beating down his back. Nice day for ice cream. Yes, thank you. I'll have one rum and raisins. I prefer that. Gosh, it's thirsty work. Bufo, again, it's quite often happens like this, by the way, that in a time trial, you get somebody who normally rides a reasonable time trial. When he's battling to maintain a position in the top part of a stage race, they ride that much better, that much faster, and they're realising many riders now, having seen the way that Indurain has used the time trials as a stepping stone to his winning performances in the stage races, but they've actually got to go out there and practice it and really learn the art of time trialling. I mean, there was a time when everybody had the same sort of bikes as they rode in the road race, just jumped on it and down the road they went and did all they could. But all the scientific way now in which you must get a low-profile bike, a disc on the back, and get yourself into a triathlon-type position here and flatten your back, and it's an unusual and different way to riding when you're riding on the road sections with the other bike than it is for a time trial bike. And I saw some pictures the other day of how they're trying to get Jalabert, Nardella. This is before we've got the big men coming in yet out on the road. So that was Bobby Julich in 5th spot. Good rise to the Stars and Stripes waving up there. But let's remember the Swiss are out there, the marauding Swiss people. Oh my goodness, I just thought about it. Oh dear. If we get there's Zülle with 10 kilometres to go. The time check showing it looks to me like we certainly get a first and second going into Madrid tomorrow for Switzerland, but it could be that Rominger will get 3rd spot as well. And I just thought, you know, all the cowbells that we're going to hear because the Swiss come off the mountains complete with their big bells at most of the big sporting events. And they're going to do the same thing in Lugano on Sunday week, I suppose it's going to be. No, 2 weeks on Sunday in the World Championships, but I'm sure one or two of them will slide off down to Madrid to give the lads a bit of a shout this time. Now certainly the Spaniards have got something to shout about because ONCE is a Spanish team. It's an institution for the blind, and they are sponsored by the proceeds very much from the lottery that is the national lottery in Spain. And you see on the yellows on the right-hand side, see those people dressed in yellow there, the ONCE people in certain areas, certain towns where they've got these institutions for the blind, they often dress them up in yellow and they come out and listen to the crowd go by. Of course, they're partially sighted and they have to be told what's going on, but it's tremendous how, in fact, not only do they get them out on the side of the road from time to time, it's very close to them, but the riders are known to go to these various institutions and to meet up with some of the people there. So it's not just bike racing, it's also putting something back into society as well. So Rebellin coming in, the Palsy boys fighting here for their position on the team classification. So he's home and dry, 57.23, 15th spot. They're looking quite comfy at the moment, the Palsy team. Well, Motorola have been going very quickly indeed. And let's see what this fellow's going to do, because Bobby Julich was lying 5th at the moment with that time of 56.13. Perron looks quite a useful time as well. It just depends now what will be their 3rd place rally, because look, there we are, Jalabert 55.24, the leader at the moment. Andre Perron coming in, his teammates just done a 56.13. And that's going to be 56 as well. That's a platform for a team chance today. As far as Motorola is concerned, it's going to be very close then by the time we get into Madrid tomorrow on the team classification. Tony Rominger setting very fast times through this time trial, but as there's a lady crowd here cheering on his way up the climb towards the finish, Zülle has been the man who's setting the quickest times at the first 2 time checks on the way. So really Tony's got to throw everything in to this final rush up towards the distilleries buildings at the top. You can see him here. This is where we finished yesterday when Gianni Bugno romped away to get his first ever stage success in the Tour of Spain. First time Gianni Bugno's ridden the Tour of Spain. He's won the Tour of Italy in the past. He was twice world champion, and now he can add to his success in stage in the Tour of France and the Tour of Spain, a victory in the Tour of Italy and France, a victory in the Tour of Spain. So what's Rominger going to do today? He will be hammering along here, trying to get this stage victory in the time trial. That's his speciality. And on the first time trial, he was beaten by, he beat Zülle by just 2 seconds, but Zulle's been up on him so far in this race. So he's got to really go hard at this stage. But what he also knows now But the time check's coming in. We'll say that he's going to be faster than Pistori. He's going to be 1 minute 29 seconds ahead of Pistori. He's certainly going to do that now, because on the clock there, coming up 53. This is a superb ride. He's pushing it, Jalabert right down off the list now. A great ride there, 53.37. He goes into first place, an average speed of 48 kilometres an hour for Tony Rominger, the fastest so far. And a quick bit of arithmetic here then for Rominger, 53.37. Well, Pistori's got to come in a minute and a half from now, 54 something, and in fact he's not up there on that at that list at the moment, Pistori, so he could be the riders are going to be first and second. But there's Zülle 6 seconds down at 32.2. He's dropping back a little bit. The gap was 7 seconds at the first time check. The second time check, it was 9 seconds, so he's just drifting back a bit. So close are these two riders. And I think that Zülle might have Dufo in sight. There's certainly somebody down the road he's going for 2 minutes. They come back then to Pistori, who, Faustino had the opportunity of really taking the pace, but following Rominger for a short while. And I think this is Dufo. It is Dufo, and look who's coming at him now. We're just, 5 kilometres to go? In fact, 6, my mistake's on the ground. There's 6 kilometres to go. And it looks like Zulle's now caught his man for 2 minutes. That's a brilliant ride in just this short distance here, 44 kilometres of racing. And it's about 27.5 miles, I suppose, this distance. When you imagine then that Tony Rominger was just on a 53.37, so all you time trialists out there, just think what sort of time that would be for a 25-mile time run. In fact, if I just work it out very quickly, 48 kilometres, in fact 30 miles an hour I think is the average speed. 6, yes, exactly 30 miles an hour. Tony Rominger's just ridden the distance at an average speed of 30 miles an hour, and it's an undulating course. You've seen it on your screen. It's hot, it's humid, and they've been racing now for 21 days. They've done well over 2,000 miles, and still they're able to ride their bikes on their own at over 30 miles an hour. Well, Rominger can anyway. Dufo, 5 to go, hounded down by Zülle. Oh, he's quite close. In that 1 kilometre, he's got right close to Dufo. And stretching out on that run in towards the finish at the Distilleries Place. It's a shame we didn't see the start, by the way, because they started right up underneath the old aqueduct. And I hope the cameras would have switched around to a very nice restaurant called the Candido. It's one of the most famous restaurants in the whole of Spain. And if you ever go to Segovia, it's right alongside the big Roman aqueduct. And it's a lovely old place with wooden ceilings and a nice big fireplace and so on. So it's very well known for its cooking too. So take a large checkbook or a big credit card with you. But that's a nice place to nip into. I'm sorry we didn't see it at the start on the screen for you. But, and nor the aqueduct as such. We saw it a few days ago. It's another amazing piece of Roman workmanship. That's one of the few things left in Segovia that the Romans left in one piece. Well, blasting away from there today, these time trialists, 116 of them left in the Tour of Spain, are really now trying to sort out the differences, because tomorrow it starts in Madrid, it curls round back into Madrid, and the course is flat, so I can't see as Dufo now gets caught by Zülle, so Zulle's getting his own back for the thrashing that Dufo was giving out the other day when he won that stage into Avia, went over the mountains to Getafe. That fellow on the right-hand side, he romped away, and I think did the ride of his life, and now it looks like he's going to be caught by Zülle. So young Dufo, 4th overall in the Tour de France this year. Won a stage in the Tour de France as well, won a stage in this Tour of Spain. Just born on the 20th of May 1969. So there he goes. I think he'll try and use Zülle as a marker. He can't go in behind him. We've not seen time trialling before. This is the sort of thing that the triathletes have always wanted, that you don't ride in each other's draft. But when you've got a lump of triathletes together, you'll get some overlapping and drafting going on. But here the rules are very clear, and the commissaire behind will make sure that Dufo doesn't drift across and get in the slipstream of Zülle. George Toshnik coming in now. Let's see what he's doing. Going to be 9th, 10th spot. Well, In fact, of course, he's lost his 4th place overall now to Tony Rominger, and I don't think Faustini is likely to have gone past him. So there's quite a bit of a closing up here on 1 or 2 other places on general classification. But in fact, yes, I think looking at Faustini's time, doing a quick sum now, when Toshnik comes along, he's got to go some, because I think, in fact, Faustini might go across him at this rate of knots. It's going to be very close indeed. He'll have to go some to the end. And 56.46, let me have a look at Faustini's time, 55.59. So there's 13 seconds difference there. And they start this morning, I think it's more than 30 seconds, it's 55.59, so that's 47 seconds difference, that's right, and they started 35 seconds apart. So in fact, Faustini's now gone over Toshnik, so started 4th this morning. Toshnik has been pushed further down. He's already been pushed down by Rominger, so Toshnik has dropped from 4th now down to, must be 6th on general classification. As these two are together, getting close in towards the finish, and the last 2 on the road now. In fact, no, where's Pistori? I haven't seen him. Gosh. That's a big swipe, a big swinging left-hander. And there we are. You can see this gradual climb up towards the finish. And the shout's coming up now, because that target time then of Rominger, 53.37, is the one to go, 1 kilometre left, and the cars behind will know exactly now what Rominger will have done. It will have been radioed back by the other team car from the Onse team, and they were looking very anxiously now, because the gap has been coming down. At one point, Zülle was leading by 7 seconds at the first time check. By the time we got to the second time check, he was, 9 seconds up. Then by the time we got to the third time check, he was down about 6 seconds. Here's Pistori. I thought we hadn't seen him coming yet. Pistori going to be valiantly trying to stay here in the top 10 places, but his time will be only of academic interest, because Rominger's now overtaken him on general classification. I think compared with Toshnik, who started this morning 1 minute and 20 odd seconds behind him, I don't think he's going to drop down or be caught by Faustini, so he's going to ride on here. He's lost his 3rd place then. He's going to finish in 4th spot, there's no doubt about that, with the way that Dufo and Zülle are going behind there. So bad luck then for Roberto Pistori. But what is Alex Zülle going to do? 53.37 is the time to beat. He's been leading at the 3 previous time checks, and now Dufo gritting his teeth. The sun coming down, beating on the back of his riders. Zülle looks over his shoulder, still sees that Dufo has not been dropped so far, and Zülle seems to be struggling just a bit. The big gangling fellow here in that yellow jersey. And he comes up here, he's had that yellow jersey on his back ever since the time trial on stage 10, when he does finish in 2nd spot, a couple of seconds behind Rominger. Can he get his own back today? 53.37, the time to beat. 34, 35, 36, 37. No, it's not going to be. Zülle's not going to win the time trial. He must have faded in that final 12 kilometres. So he's gone into 2nd spot then. Tony Rominger has won the time trial, and that means that Rominger has now moved into 3rd spot. Dufo still stays 2nd, and this man still stays in 1st spot. So we've got Swiss 1, 2 and 3. There they are. Well done, he's saying to Zülle. And this has not ever happened before in the Tour of Switzerland. The only nation that has ever had 3 riders from the same nation in 1st, 2nd and 3rd spot would be, as you expect, the Spaniards. And I think they had 11. I've looked at my notes, so I checked it last night, because we thought this might happen today, the way in which Rominger's been going. As Zülle goes away looking very puffed indeed, that we think, in fact, certainly I know that the Spaniards have done it, but I think it's 11 times that the Spanish have finished 1, 2 and 3, as you'd expect over the years. It's their race anyway. But looking again at the slow motion of Zülle coming across the line here, and history being made by the Swiss rider. They're just going to last out tomorrow's race into Madrid, well, start in Madrid and come back into Madrid, and that'll be all over by the shouting up on the finishing rostrum. So again, I expect all the Onse supporters will be there, and the Swiss with their cowbells, shoo, get away, making all that noise. Yes, 11 times the Spanish have been 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and the last time they did it was in 1991 when Mauri was 1st, Indurain 2nd, and Lejarreta was 3rd, and the time before that they did it was 1976 when they had 3 men 1st, 2nd and 3rd, including O'Connor in 2nd spot. So
we've now got some dominance from the Swiss, because they're Rominger having won this time trial. Zülle dropped back by 13 seconds after leading on the two time checks before that. Nice ride by Perron and Julik back there, 9th and 10th. Bobrik came quite good, 11th spot. Toschnig in 14th spot. That won't help the Polti riders too much at the moment, but they may just about get away with it, because I think that Perron and Julik haven't got a very good third place. Oh, Livingston was there. So the DYC distilleries, which we've had many events finishing here in the past, both the mountain stage and the time trial stage. There we are, that's it, confirmation. I was working out my sums here. Tony Rominger certainly in 3rd spot. Now look at that, 1, 2 and 3. There's your Swiss flag. Pistori and Faustini are 4th and 5th overall, and the poor man who dropped out of the frame today, George Toschnig, but he'll come back. He's a young rider. We're looking further down the list here. Bobby Julich in 9th spot, so he's still in the top 10. Skartin in 10th spot, and looking down there, Polti have got Giannetti back in 13th spot, so they're still in there with a shout at the moment. But what a race we've had so far. Now, Jalabert must be probably around about 20-something, maybe 21, 22 if they show it up on your screens, but he's sold it on. He'll take the red jersey into Milan tomorrow, as we look forward to your company tomorrow on that stage. So for me, David Duffield, hasta mañana. We keep finishing the big town centres down. This is Madrid, and there is that delightful arch, and the riders, as ever, riding into the finish all together, and Zülle very happy indeed. This is the first time really that Zülle has gone right the way through from 1st to 3rd week and survived the trials and tribulations of the mountains, the rain and what have you, the time trials. He's been a fragile rider in the past, but going into the finish in Madrid, he knew that provided he stayed upright, which was giving no problem at all in these dry conditions, he would have that Amarillo jersey for the Once team, would have the sickness throughout the race. He was in there, and the Swiss were looking 1st, 2nd and 3rd. The question was, who would win the final stage of the Tour of Spain this year? After 8 laps of the 6.6 kilometre circuit in the centre of Madrid, it was Tom Steels who rushed across the line to take another stage victory as far as he was concerned, and the Spaniards, who've been trying with Ado to get a stage victory, had nothing to show for it overall, except of course that Once, which is a Spanish team, had the overall victory. And there, as he crossed the line, his arms up in the air, Alex Zülle had perhaps scored the greatest success of his life. A fragile man over the 3 weeks, but now he'd shown in the Tour of Spain that he could win this one. Stage victory then for Tom Steels, who fought his way through, but for Alex Zülle, a smile then, and the national anthem of Switzerland running out not only for the winner Alex Zülle, but also for second man Dufo, and third Tony Rominger. The Swiss, for the first time since this race started, have now got 1, 2 and 3 on the rostrum. So there we are, 1, 2 and 3 of the Swiss riders. They belong to different teams. Zülle from the Once squad, Dufo from Lotus Festina, and Rominger from the Mapei GB team. Rominger 3 times winner of this race, and what a change it might have been had not the sickness hit this man Zülle, who's won overall this year. Jalabert, who'd done so well last year's victor, dropped back into 19th place overall. But for the Swiss, this is on a unique occasion, 1, 2 and 3 in the Tour of Spain. The Spanish have won the race 11 times in the past when they had 1, 2 and 3, but this is the first time we've had 3 of the Swiss riders up on the rostrum. But perhaps then, as far as the Spanish are concerned, they've got the Once team winning overall, and Lotus, of course, a Spanish watch manufacturer, in second spot. But they didn't get a stage victory. The Italians got more stage victories than anybody else. But for Switzerland, what a great tour of Spain. So for me, David Duffield, it's time to say hasta la Vega.